What is your example of doing that? I believe everyone can do this with everything in their life. Understand.
What if the part of you you're most ashamed of is actually your greatest untapped potential? Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden side of your personality made up of everything you deny, repress, or refuse to admit about yourself. But here's the twist no one talks about. Maybe you're not supposed to accept it. Maybe you're supposed to burn it down and rebuild. In this video, we're not just explaining Jung's idea of shadow integration. We're tearing it apart and rebuilding a whole new model for how to evolve in a world obsessed with self-acceptance. What's your take on Carl Jung's idea of the shadow and shadow integration?
I feel like it's a very interesting concept because think about it, religions are where we derive most of our morality from, right? What is good, what is bad is informed to us by our culture, by the gods we follow, by the particular teachings of our religion that we subscribe to. So what Carl Jung does is that he says that alright, that's fine, there are certain moral values that you have to subscribe to, and therefore you have a face that you show to society, right? If I am talking to my teachers, I am talking to my parents, hell, maybe even when I am in public or with friends, there is a face that I show, things that I want to say, or things that I hold back within myself are not present in this face, right? I'm a very different person when I am alone. I hold a lot of dark tendencies, a lot of dark thoughts, a lot of dark emotions, which is not portrayed to everyone else. The portrayal that I show to everyone else is the light side of my personality, and my shadow that Carl Jung refers to is that internal things that I've held back. Maybe my selfishness is my shadow. Maybe my extreme anger that I show no one is my shadow. Maybe my deepest, darkest desires are my shadow. Shadow is the part of you that you do not want to acknowledge. So what Carl Jung says is that in order to become a complete human being, you need to integrate your shadow, and that is the only way you can become a complete human being. Very amazing take. Although I disagree with it, my point of view is that in order to become a better, more evolved human being, you shouldn't integrate your shadow, rather you should learn to discard it.
So if someone were to say that discarding the shadow is just another form of repression, how would you respond to that?
I would respond to it by simply stating the fact that yes, it might appear to be a repression. It is not. It is an evolution. There is a difference between repression and evolution. Repression is always having set traits within yourself and not letting them come out. So it's basically a parrot tying its own wing so it cannot fly. That will be repression. While on the other hand, evolution is fundamentally mutating yourself into becoming something better, something faster, maybe a parrot which adds jetpack to its back. I don't know. The point being that we do change as people throughout our lives. If I am, let's say, a very lazy person, Carl Jung's concept of shadow is going to tell me to integrate that laziness within my personality and make myself whole. But we know for a fact that is the wrong way to go about things. The way we go about it is we acknowledge the shadow. We acknowledge the fact that I am lazy. We break down the shadow. We figure out where that laziness stems from, and then we reprogram the shadow into the light. I understand I am lazy for these particular reasons. These are the things that make me lazy. For example, let's assume I want to start going to the gym, but I'm not able to go to the gym because I'm extremely lazy and I cannot wake up in the morning. So I subvert it by understanding why I'm not able to wake up in the morning. Maybe I go to bed very late at night. So what I can do, I can make my sleep schedule a little different so that I'm able to wake up earlier. That is how I solve the issue of the shadow. That is how I turn the shadow into the light. And only then can you assume or have some sort of renaissance, some sort of evolution of your own personality. The point here, what stands here, is the fact that your shadow is a part of you, that is something that you're not showing to the world, that is something that you're not proud of, or something which is causing you active harm. So just accepting active harm as part of your personality is not becoming whole. It is resigning. It is a defeatist mindset. It is the mindset of someone who's too stuck up to change, who just wants everyone to accept everything about themselves. But that is the wrong approach. It is a child's mentality. It is a teenager's mentality. An adult's mentality is to change, is to evolve. That is to be human. But yes, you do need to acknowledge your shadow if you want to do it. You simply cannot keep ignoring it. Instead, you need to acknowledge it, look your shadow in the eyes, and turn it into light. That will be my approach to it, and that is why I believe Carl Jung is wrong in his approach.
Would you say that Jung's model is only halfway there? That acknowledgement without transmutation is just self-awareness without transformation.
Definitely. I feel like what Carl Jung does is he rebels very well against the moral or religious society which forces people to be what they are not. So his model was very accurate for the time that it came out in, because people were not ready to accept themselves. But we live in 2025. We live in a time where people want to accept themselves because they want to cope with reality, right? People are afraid of change. People want to find partners which are perfect for them, that do not require them to change. People want to find the perfect job, the perfect opportunity. We're a society which is so full of choices that we think that we can get everything for ourselves, for exactly who we are, without having to put in any sort of effort. We are a society which is learned to be coddled, which are babies, and therefore I believe Carl Jung's approach, while relevant for the time, is not relevant for today, because there is another step to it, right? It is a stepping stone, a stepping ladder of sorts. Just like how religion and religious models of morality were useful in a time where society had no morality, Carl Jung's was a response to a society which was already very religious, but it did not allow human beings to be themselves. And now my model of turning the shadow into the light is another step in this new process, because now we live in a society where everyone accepts everything about themselves and they are just afraid of changing.
So would it be fair to say that where Jung taught us how to find the shadow, you're saying it's time we learn how to burn it? Not to destroy ourselves, but to reforge who we are.
Exactly. The point being, it's not simply a matter of integration, it is a matter of transmutation, it is a matter of mutation, it is a matter of evolution. That is the next step towards it, right? And this is more complex than integrating your shadow ever was. Integrating your shadow was simply to firstly understand what your shadow was, understand its intricacies, and just simply accepting it. This is not accepting it. You firstly need to understand who you are, what is your deepest, darkest desires. Step number 2 is for you to understand where it stems from. So dissect your deepest, darkest desires. And step number 3 is to pivot them, to change the direction into something which is more meaningful. Turn the shadow into the light. If you follow this 3-step formula, you can transform your life completely. Hell, if I am someone who just likes to talk a lot and who has no one to listen to, I create a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube channel I can talk about my ideas, talk about my things, and this is something which might as well have been my shadow, because when you go out in society, when you go out in social settings, when you're trying to talk to a lot of people, a lot of times your thoughts about abstract concepts and things that you want to talk about are not appreciated. So now I'm using that part of me that I would repress, which would be my shadow, me being so talkative, and I'm turning that into light by starting a YouTube channel, by talking about philosophical ideas online. This is my example of turning a shadow into the light. What is your example of doing that? I believe everyone can do this with everything in their life. Understand where are the traits that you most hide from. What are those traits? How do they work? Where did they stem from? And ultimately, how to use them in order to become better. How to turn the shadow into the light. That will be all from my side, and I am going to end this video now.
In a world where shadow work is treated like a final destination, today we reframed it as just the midpoint. Carl Jung taught us how to face the darkness, but facing it isn't enough anymore. The world we live in demands more. And you can't just integrate your demons, you have to rewrite their purpose. The shadow isn't the enemy, but it's also not your friend. It's raw energy waiting to be converted. If you're ready to stop coping and start evolving, ask yourself this: what part of you have you hidden from the world? That's actually your secret weapon. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe for more unscripted philosophical dives like this one. And remember, patterns are everywhere.